Mr. Criminal on air live.
Sometimes I jokingly refer to it as I was a drug war spy because I used to take photos of the people serving up the crack on the corner, but we were suing the property owners to clean up their property under a theory. So we weren't criminalizing, but I went to the meetings with the cops. So I knew the chief, the captain, the city attorney's office, code enforcement. So whenever there was a shooting in the hood, we knew the story.
You already knew what happened.
So there was this one time, this dude was in a wheelchair. It was an older black dude. And he shot someone. And as you know from the recoil, when he shot, he went back. And I was living in the loin, as we call it. I lived at Hyde and Turk, which was basically right near Little Saigon. And then, the prostitutes are nearby, and it's an open air drug market. So I would be 2 blocks away. So my law school essay, the first sentence was, I live where the sirens stop. So you'd hear the siren, right? And if it goes by you, it's not you. But when you hear the siren and it goes, and fuck, dude, someone just got shot.
Wow.
So that's the loin. But at the same time, it's a rich community of leaders. So I work with religious leaders, community leaders, activistas, and San Francisco is very progressive politically. So I ended up becoming the director of my nonprofit. And then through that, I got involved with local politics.
Wow.
And what I say is that everything I learned in the neighborhood has made me the businessman I am today, right? Keep your word. Imagine what you say to that one person will be said at a community meeting to everybody, right? So that's how I run my law firm.
Wow, it's amazing. What would you say would be, if any, the differences that you've seen in the Tenderloin up in San Francisco to the streets of LA when you were doing work on both sides? Like, what would you say would be the difference that you've seen?
Well, the difference is that San Francisco is a very dense city and it's a walkable city. So we were part of something called the Lower Eddy Task Force, which was funded when they built the Moscone Center with public bonds. So the neighborhood, we had $1 million to control. And you don't really have Skid Row, near the Callejones, 3rd, 5th Street by the Central Police Station. That's concentrated, but you don't have the hotels. So San Francisco, you've got the hotels and you've got the single room occupancy hotels. We call them the SROs. And those are people that are on the verge of homelessness to some extent. So that's a difference. Also, Los Angeles politically, I would say, is dominated by the labor unions, whereas in San Francisco, you've got the city and county funding nonprofits. So what we were dealing with in the 2000s, right, homelessness, 20 years later, we're dealing with it here in LA.
Wow, that's crazy. So they were ahead of the time as far as poverty. They were way more advanced with it.
So, we can talk progressive politics, and maybe some people are, maybe they're not. People have asked me, Rosenberg, they see my flag pin, and I say, no te preocupes de mi bandera, because to me, the flag belongs to everybody, right?
Yeah.
So I don't let the far right people, get in my way. And then I also say, so the U.S. attorneys, the assistant U.S. attorneys, we call them AUSAs, assistant U.S. attorneys in the feds. So I always say I out USA the AUSAs.
Wow.
Right?
That's crazy.
So, so in Los Angeles, we're spread out. And as a result, the community organizers, traditionally it's been hard to get them together. But now with social media, the organizers are able to find each other and connect.
Wow.
And that's how I hooked up with Checkpoint. You know Checkpoint, right?
Nah, I don't.
Always Film the Police, shout out Mr. Checkpoint. I'm on his board of directors for the Always for the People Foundation.
Okay.
We're doing some jury service initiatives, fighting felony murder, raising awareness for citizens about their rights when they encounter law enforcement. So when I got involved with Checkpoint, this would be in 2017 when I started my Instagram, I saw that he was a moderator of a public safety conversation. So I went and met with him and I gave him a book about community organizing, because when we were doing it, we had the older generation, right? We had the hippies, we had the community organizers.
Yeah.
My boss was a two-striker who did 10 years in, VSW and Chowchilla, and she was the one that shot called the riots.
Wow.
Okay, so she got clean and sober, and she's the one that discovered Rosenberg in the TL. Okay,
Wow.
so we worked with a lot of ex-offenders, right? People who have been to prison, people who did dope. She introduced me. We had a dude, he was with the Black Panthers, bro, back in the day. So with all these life experiences, right? When my clients come in, I know what it's like to have the cops light you up and to be scared. You know what I'm saying? I understand that. I know what it's like to have people say, Rosenberg, I'm DWB, right? I'm driving while black, right? I understand. Now, have I been targeted like that? Not necessarily, but I understand it. I understand the fear that people have with the cops, and I understand that. And I'm blessed, when I go to do a jail visit, they let me out, right? So whenever I'm out, I'm blessed, bro. Because I know my clients have told me over the years what it's like. And I see it when I see them. And I've said this before, you have about 30 seconds with a new client when they're scanning you, and they're gonna say, this dude's full of shit, or this is a real one.
Yeah.
Especially if you've been to prison, right?
For sure.
Because it's like, right? So, and I've told this story before. When I first started in 2011, I did cases with Homeboy Industries. And they gave me a case. It was a robbery with a strike prior with the gang enhancement. So 235, he could get 10 on that, plus 10 for the gang enhancement at 85% for the robbery. So my client was, and I can't say the hood, but they're famous for their graffiti. They're down in South LA. And he was so blasted out because I'd done gang cases as a public defender in juvie, but it wasn't like the LA culture, right? So I saw my client and I was like, I've never seen anybody like that. But he taught me to look through the bars and look at his eyes. So I had to learn to not let all that stuff get in my way.